things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? Hope you're doing okay, and happy bloody New Year to you. I hope you didn't have a New Year's Day like I did. I don't know if you can see, but I'm back at the bloody wrist again. Something bad happened to the thumb. It happened a couple of weeks ago, and it's been clicking in a weird way. And I woke up this morning and I couldn't move it at all. And it's quite painful. There may well be tendons involved and a few other bits and pieces. I don't know if I've rebroken something that I don't know that was actually fixed when I broke my wrist. But at any rate, I have absolutely no strength in my left hand. I cannot grab anything. Anything that requires my thumb being used, I'm absolutely buggered. So another fun day. So I went to try and get x-rays today. That was fun too. I went to the doctor. Actually, that was probably the least painful experience I've had with a fellow who was very, very decent and sent me off to go and get x-rays. He said, I go on holidays this afternoon. He said, I've got 5 hours to get the x-rays done and get them back to me. And then I can tell you what you need to do. And I said, okay, great. And the radiologist place was in exactly the same place, the same building. So I toddled over there with all the paperwork. He wants to do an x-ray and a... what are those things ladies have when they're pregnant? One of those, anyway. A gram, some sort of gram. And they're going to have a look and see what's broken, what's not, what tendons are where they should be or shouldn't be. And we'll go from there. So I turned up, smiled politely at the young lady behind the counter and asked if that could happen. And she said, yes, Tuesday. I said, I think I've got a broken thumb. I might need to go and get it, sort of held together a bit. And she said, yeah, well, the doctors generally like to have both x-rays and the other thing that I'm having done taken on the same day. And I said, okay, that's great, but I need to get it done. The doctor's going on holidays. Okay, well, Tuesday, because that's when the doctors like 18-year-olds. Got to love them. And you can't raise your voice these days. You can't even look like you're getting angry. Not angry. It's anxious. It's not anxiety. It's not anger. It's anxiety. It's just, God, how hard can this be? But these juniors go into loops and you just can't do anything about it. So anyway, I've wrapped myself up, trying to mobilize it as best I can. I actually think I did this while I was in bed asleep. I think I jammed my hand down the side of the bed somewhere and then rolled and moved and did it in a way I shouldn't have. I vaguely remember having an experience like that one night. A lot of pain in the hand, and I know there's a few of you who might. Anyway, let's not go there. We've had some new family members join us. Absolutely. I see Wayno from Wilmington as the Stony Creek, the Stony Creek Bush Camp. He has just joined us as a YouTube member. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Now, it's fortuitous that you bring that up because I've been speaking with Wayno in the last couple of days. And if you don't know where Wilmington is, it's sort of think of Port Pirie and go up a little bit. Not Port Pirie, Port Augusta and go up a little bit, sort of on the edge of the Flinders Ranges. And I think it's about 4 hours drive north of Adelaide. Now, we're planning something for the Bush Camp in July. Now, if you happen to be someone who likes remote control car racing, maybe you like flying remote control aircraft, or you might like slot cars, there is going to be a number of races that we are going to put together. It'll be a hugely fun week of activities. It is a fair way to go, so we want to go and stay with Wayno. So check it out. Lovely camp, says Deb, too. I was talking to her about it. Said that she's been there. And I've actually got some pictures. I just don't have enough time or room rather in the system to load them up tonight, but I will show you as we approach the dates. But if you're interested, we would recommend that you keep late July free. Looks like it'll be sort of somewhere around the 22nd of July for a week or so, and we're going to have all sorts of things planned. We would love for you to come along, and depending on where I am in the country, if you want to tag along with me while we go there, you would be more than welcome. We'll probably stop at a few places along the way and try and make friends, as we are apt to do. But if you're keen, then yes. And yes, Black Sheep, you are the inspiration for the slot car race, my friend. Have absolutely no fear. In fact, you might be put to work in the time, because you're coming over early. You're going to be over in late May. So once you hit the mainland, you might be put to work building some appropriate little buildings and whatnot for the track. I don't know. I've had a bit of a look, and Wayno says he's going to put a bit of work into that side of things. He's got a great little track and quite a group of slot car fiends out in Wilmington who get together every week or so. So we're going to try and blow that up a little bit. And I'm going to try and get some interest from some RC car companies. One of the things I would like to do is put on something that has never been, as far as I'm aware, been done before. And we will see what we can do. Oh, yes. Have I seen what's happening in the UK? Yeah. We will see what we can do to make it a very exciting event. Anyway, yes, I have seen what's going on. The UK are doing all sorts of things the police are doing all sorts of things in the UK at the moment, and we'll get to talk about that in the very near future. Other friends that we've had come and join us recently, this is Maggie. Now, Maggie is at the Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary. She lost her mum or her dad or both. Not sure if it's a him or her, so Maggie could run either way, but is currently being cared for by Sandy and co at the Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary. There are a ton of magpies around there who just call the whole place home, and I know if you live around magpies and you treat them okay, then they tend to treat you pretty good too. I'll come and make friends with you. So Maggie is currently residing at the Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary, and they got another little one the other day. No, that isn't a baby donkey, believe it or not. That is a matter of a couple of months old, maybe 3 or 4 month old, red-faced wallaby that Sandy and Baz were driving home, and this wallaby had recently been hit on the side of the road, so they stopped and checked, and this is what they found inside. How pink is that? So, of course, Sandy being Sandy and Baz being Baz, they took the little pinky home and started feeding it. Had a couple of very interesting nights over New Year's, sleeping for a couple of hours and then up again to feed this little one. And that one has now been handed off to a macropod carer so that it can be well looked after. But apparently very, very strong. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that little one will put through. Yes, Olivia, you're right. There is, going back to magpies, a lady in Inala, a suburb of Brisbane, found 30 dead magpies in her backyard. Now, these are magpies that she's been cultivating as friends for, I think it's over 20 years she's lived in the property, and literally came home to find the house yard littered with dead magpies. There is no indication as to what they've died from. It starts out with them being unable to walk, and then they just die. So I know from experience, anxiety in a magpie can kill them very, very quickly, but older ones are a bit better. These are all mixed ages, and it's quite a serious thing. So the birds have been taken for testing, and I'm sure we'll be made aware of exactly what has killed them as soon as that becomes available. There have been a few interesting theories thrown out about it. Some of them, it sounds like the Collingwood Finals campaign. Thank you, what the? Electromagnetic interference has been attributed to mass bird deaths in the past, particularly in the UK. And we've been told that 5G can have, Gisela, 5G can have an impact on them too. Poisoning, you would expect that the poisoning, if they were poisoned, why did they all die in the one backyard? So if that was the case, it'd have to be something in the backyard, you'd think. But I don't know. They will find out. The lady who found them, obviously, and had been caring for them for years, was extremely upset. So, mind you, we found mothers who've killed their children come on television and say how upset they are about it before being charged with murder and sent away for the rest of their lives. So we will just sit on the fence and wait and see what comes of that one, won't we? Trust, that's something we talk about here pretty often. But this MP, Roy Butler, has put out a very interesting little post about trust. Trust is important in politics and for governments. Trust comes from people doing what they agreed to do and not doing something that cuts out political process and the people who would be affected. In 2024, the New South Wales government passed a law that made consultation with regional communities, made it a legal requirement. This is highly relevant given the new firearms legislation being discussed and rammed through right about now. Chris Minns has decided to ignore this law that his own government passed and is about to rush ahead with non-evidence-based laws in New South Wales, laws formed before victims are even buried, before people have recovered from their injuries of the Bondi massacre, as they're terming it, or anti-Semitic event. It is not the way to do public policy. You couldn't be more true there. The plan at the moment is to disarm good, law-abiding people, ban protests when it suits the government, and give long arms to the police. That is exactly the plan. Now, we have an MP. I think there are probably more than he. I think he's a state MP too, Butler for New South Wales. We need federal MPs sticking their nose in this too. Chris Minns going up against his own law about consultation in regional areas before they make these big law changes. Well, obviously, those gun changes are going to affect people in the country, probably a lot more people in the country. But yes, Minns is obviously dancing to a particular tune. Now, I didn't watch the Sydney fireworks. I don't know. It's something about Colosseums and Rome putting on entertainment I don't like. But I got told that it was a rather interesting, boring ABC production once again. Something absolutely bereft of entertainment, I think is the way to put it. And there are probably a few reasons for it. But it ushers in a new year, and that new year ushers in a new financial year for the American markets, well, the global markets, if you like. Now, the last couple of days leading up to New Year, I was telling you about gold and silver. I was urging you to go and buy some in the dip, and if you had the opportunity to buy as much of it as you possibly could. Many of you, I'm led to believe, took that advice, and I think at the moment, some of you might be a little nervous, but most of you, I think, would be very, very happy, particularly if you've bought over the last couple of days. The market has been frozen, and you would have been able to buy for around $107 if you were at ainslebullion.com.au. That's $107 an ounce for silver. Now, been looking at an awful lot of analysis, a lot of it AI-generated analysis, but that doesn't make the information that's being put out any less true. It just means that the little Asian man presenting it can look a bit weird at times. But that particular podcast called Asian Guy has been able to dumb down for me, at least, what all these actions behind the market mean. What has been going on in the break between Christmas and New Year, behind the scenes. Why did the crash happen at 2:00 in the morning on Boxing Day, where all these sell options started happening automatically by bots? why didn't the big banks, the big lending institutions, the big clearing houses know that that was going to happen? Or was it, as I think that podcast termed it at one stage, an assassination of the financial system? So leading up to today, or more particularly about 8 o'clock this morning, 8 o'clock this morning Australian time, or Australian Eastern Standard Time, is about the time where the bots wake up after their little New Year's hiatus. Now, the bots start working before the humans in the trading rooms, and they get to see what the price is doing, both on the COMEX and what's happening in China on the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Now, there's a big difference between the price on the COMEX exchange, which is what we are seeing on these tickers. Like at the moment, at Ainslie Bullion, silver is 111.14 an ounce. I'll just refresh it. 111.20 an ounce. Now, that's gone up $4 since this morning, since the open this morning. But I kind of expected it to go up a lot faster and a lot more. But then I saw another report from another podcaster that says this is not unexpected. The Fed has poured in billions, literally billions with a B, dollars in the last 2 days, just to enable the market to keep going up until New Year's Eve. They pulled out a $3 billion spend one day and $2.8 billion the next, and all it managed to do was hold the paper price down. That's what we are looking at on the COMEX trade price. That's 71 US dollars or 72. What is it in US dollars at the moment? Through Ainslie, it's 74.50. So Katie Boo has just joined as a YouTube member. God love you, Boo. As a young lady who's very close to my heart, folks. $74.50 US at the moment is that spot price, $111.12. I thought it might be 120 by the time the close of business today in Australia. But I'm told that that's not the case. That's not the way the market will work. And today, especially now that the traders went back to their desks and New York opened up, I think around midday our time, might have been earlier, then they've been working very hard to protect their positions. Now, what is their position? Well, the position is those people who have, thank you, Vince, those people who've gone onto the COMEX and started trading on the COMEX, they've bought futures in silver. Now, those people have already paid money and they want the silver because they see they can buy it at $74, what we just said, in America, but they can sell it, as you saw on the screen there before, for $130 an ounce in Japan. The gold souks in Dubai are selling it up to $90, $95 an ounce. And China on the market in there, I haven't checked in the last hour or a couple of hours actually, but last time I checked, it was selling at $85.99 US an ounce. So you see there is a rather large disparity between what the American COMEX market says the price of silver is, bearing in mind that there is no silver in that market. That is just paper. And the money that has gone into propping up the market in the last few days has been printed by the Fed. They've printed paper to swap for other kinds of paper. They haven't yet been able to get their printing presses to print silver bars. And that's what the people the clients, if you like, have paid out for. And now they're calling for their silver. They want it. They're knocking on the doors of the traders and saying, all right, we want our silver bars. Thank you. 1,000-ounce bars at a time. And we want $9 billion worth of them. Of course, they don't have $9 billion worth of silver to give their clients, and they're going to scream. That'll mean that the regulator is going to need to have to come in and fix this at some point. What that really means for the true price of silver, I'm unsure, because if the regulator in the US market comes in and says, all right, well, we're going to freeze all trade at $75. That's what you're going to finish your contracts on. Then if you were the client who had spent the money, the traders have put it into the silver futures, and you want the bars, well, you're losing a lot of money. They'll give you your $74 an ounce back, but they will not, or $75 an ounce, but they will not pay $130 an ounce like they would in Japan, or $90 an ounce in Dubai, or about that in China. And it's only going to get higher. So that isn't going to work, because that means the big banks and the big brokerages, the big clearinghouses are going to be sued. There will be class actions, and these companies will be liquidated on the spot. As you can see, the price chart that Vince put up, which he must show me how to bring up on my thing again, because I've had a bit of fun looking at it today, but I couldn't get this particular chart up, which is the one I was looking for. Vince, as you're there, you may as well come on and explain what you're drawing lines about for. And because while it does look like a beautiful triangle line, I'm a little confused as to what you're trying to tell me.
Just that's a flag, right? It's one of the signs that you will see in silver. So now what we need to do is watch this progression. If this breaks through here and continues up, I think I've got a little drawing stick here somewhere. This breaks through here and goes up that way. That's what we're probably going to see. But it follows down. If it gets to the point just here in the system, right, it's either going to go down or up. But my guess is it's going to break this flag at this point somewhere around here. I reckon this is going to decide to go up in the next few days. That's just my guess. It's not financial advice.
Yes, we don't do financial advice around here, but thank you for pointing out the flag. There is no teacup and handle yet. I'm looking forward to seeing you draw one.
No, that's long gone. Long gone.
Yeah.
All right, you get back to it.
Thank you, brother. So if you are invested in silver at $111.20, it's still good to be able to get in. Now, somebody rang me or sent a text to me earlier today. It might have been Pete from Pinaroo, said somebody he knew had tried getting onto the Ainslie website and ordering, and the website crashed. I don't know. I haven't been able to find out from them if they have had any issues there today. I know that I've been to the site today and it hasn't crashed. But they have been fulfilling orders solidly over the Christmas New Year period, or at least taking them. Those orders will be posted out, I think, on January 5 when they reopen. So that's Monday. So if you have ordered, then it's all safe and sound, sitting in the vaults, ready to go. Don't worry about that. Now, if you go to the Ainslie Bullion website, you will see that there is some limitations on stock in some places. That's because, for instance, 1 kilo bars are pretty scarce everywhere. But you can, I think, get them still in Melbourne or wherever. And there are more coming, obviously. There are certain coins that you can either get from the Gold Coast or maybe Brisbane or maybe Melbourne. It just depends on where you are. And, of course, if you really want that coin and you're in Melbourne and it happens to be on the Gold Coast, you can buy it. They'll send it to you. It's no problem. You don't have to call into the office to get it. You just tell them which one you want, and they'll make sure that it comes to you. And, of course, it's all insured when they send it to you, so that if it doesn't arrive when they say, then, well, you get another package that does, which is what we're really after. Speaking about trust, that piece of crap is something we don't trust at all. Now, she is going to be heavily involved in the execution of the abolishment of our rights once this new Digital Duty of Care Act comes in. Now, there is a petition. You can choose to sign it if you're into petition signing. Go Citizen or Citizen Go Australia. They want Annika Wells, our communications minister, who is putting forward this piece of legislation, to scrap it. Now, the duty or digital duty of care bill would require large tech companies to proactively identify and shield users from harm, including harms to young people, harms to mental well-being, the instruction and promotion of harmful practices, and other illegal content and activity, the government said when the bill was being introduced last year. Don't believe it. It is, and it's been signed by a lot more than 10,500 people so far, I can tell you. It warns that the bill criminalizes legal speech. It attacks democratic accountability, and it gives that cow, Julie Inman Grant, far too much power. It lays a foundation for a future digital ID enforcement platform and moves Australia towards the UK and the EU style of censorship. Is that something that you can see us being terribly involved in? I don't think Australians enjoy being censored at all. And while, for the most part, you might put up with it for a while, eventually you will push back. And when you push back, others you will gain power and they will push back as well. Dissent will be made well known. The bill would force platforms to censor lawful content, surveil users, and hand control of online speech to unelected bureaucrats. It empowers the E-Safety Commissioner to decide what Australians are allowed to see and say and share with no checks, no recourse, and no democratic mandate. So we need to push back very hard against the Digital Duty of Care Act, which will be, I would wager, one of the very first things that this elbow sleazy government will do when they come back next month. YouTube have already started. I received this today in January, safeguards for search results. So they're going to start looking after that. And also in February, upcoming changes to the number of concurrent live streams that you'll be able to do off your YouTube channel. Now that, because what that says is pretty ambivalent, we're going to need to look into that, but it might mean that we're going to have to trim down the number of channels we broadcast on, particularly on YouTube. And for those of you watching on, say, Voice of Freedom, and I don't know, maybe one of the other ones, I don't know which one, we might have to cull so that we can stay to 2. I don't know. We'll see. No biggie just at the moment. What we do know is that the elbow sleazy government are being exposed on a daily basis, I think, as to just how inept they truly are, how controlling they truly are, and what lengths they will go to maintain that control. And one of the things that is really at the moment standing out, mainstream media are hammering elbow sleazy for the fact that he refuses to put on a royal commission over the Bondi shootings. He also refuses to say that particular phrase. No, he can't solve it. He can't solve any of Australia's problems, unfortunately. I don't know how anybody ever thought he would be able to, even if he had good intent, which I'm sure he doesn't. Those behind him in that party are certainly not looking out for the best of all Australians. So this pressure that's being brought to bear at the moment by the Jewish community about anti-Semitism is being done for a reason. Albo has been pro-Palestine pretty much all his political life. I think now they're trying to punish him for it. And there is a trap that the Labor Party has. They've made it for themselves. You'll remember back to the Crud-Gillard Crud days, where they knifed sitting prime ministers in the back. They did the same to Tony Abbott. I think that's the only time the Liberal Party have really done it. But Malcolm Turnbull was responsible for that action, of course. The Labor Party, they've had knives drawn out for years, so much so that they had to make a party rule that said, all right, we won't stab sitting prime ministers in the back anymore and remove them once they've been elected. Okay, we won't do that. They'll have to sit out their term. And then how do you remove them? Well, they're going to have to resign, aren't they? So can the Labor Party afford to have Albo Sleazy at the head of their little regime for the next 2 and a bit years before we go back to an election? Or will they find a way to resign Albo? Will he get sick? Will Jody get sick? Will something happen that he wants to spend more time with the family that's non-existent? It'll be interesting to see. I don't think that Albo will be leading the government, though, at the next election, although it would be a very, very, very bitter and hot pill to swallow to be named the new Labor Prime Minister leading up to the next election, wouldn't it? It's why Shorten got out of politics. He knew he was never going to get there in his lifetime. Albo would need to flag that he was going to get out. They'd have to put his seat up at the appropriate time, depending on whether or not Dan Andrews is out of or in or out of jail at the time, would play on whether or not he would stick a hand up to be parachuted into that seat, as we were talking about a few weeks ago. And as some of the rumours, I think Craig Cole had heard, that was a plan. It would work pretty well, very safe seat of Albo's. And it gets him out, gets Dan in, and they can put him up as a sacrificial prime minister leading up to the election. So watch for these machinations playing out or not. Anything is highly possible. Now, I spoke before about silver. I meant to show you a couple of pictures at the time, and there are a couple of other little hints that were given over New Year, particularly in America. A lot of it had to do with the big New Year's ball at Mar-a-Lago, which I thought by her side was the big Don. And what is she wearing? All silver. There you go. That thing keeps playing. I didn't know that was going to keep doing that. I'll turn that off. I can just do this, though. Got to be happy with that. Now, she doesn't look bad in silver, does she? And she actually walked into that piece of music. That's the Lone Ranger music. It's not the 1812 Overture. It's... It'll come to me. It'll come to me. Anyway, she looked absolutely spectacular. And the statement she made without opening her mouth, I think, says it all. There is a lot to be said about what's going on with silver in the world right now. Israel have offered to help Australia police because, you know, they've been so good at stopping radical Islam where they live. But they've made this big offer. Their anti-terrorism bloke who was on Bondi a matter of days after the attack has now come out and said, yes, we will be glad to offer any help we can for anti-terrorist operations and training for senior police in this regard. So... going back to the fireworks in Sydney, I didn't see whether or not they wound up putting the Jewish candlestick on the Harbour Bridge or they just put pictures of it up on the pillars for it. I know that was the menorah. Couldn't think of the name of it. I don't know if they wound up doing that and having a minute's silence. I don't hear them in all the years that Sydney have been having fireworks over the harbour. I don't think they've ever paused for a minute's silence to remember the people killed by the idiots on our roads. I don't think I've ever heard a minute's silence for the people who've lost their lives while protecting Australians and Australia. I don't think I've heard a minute's silence for those children who've been lost inside the children's welfare system. There's a lot of things you won't hear the government talking or acknowledging, but they're the things that we need to root out, people. They are the things we need to expose, and we need to keep exposing. Here's something interesting. In Australia, a man holding a sign that reads, "We are sick of terrorism and those that support it," is now reportedly facing legal trouble, classified as a hate crime. Critics say that's another example of free speech under threat. Everyday citizens risk punishment simply by expressing concern over security and safety. Now, very soon it's going to be exceptionally difficult for you to say or do anything. And it's going to be made even more difficult to speak out against Zionism. If I have a crack at Zionism, I'm going to be called an anti-Semite. Oh, look, he's attacking the Jews. No, Zion is a political movement. It is not a nationality. It is not Jewish. In fact, there's nothing Jewish about Zion. So, and there is a very good video which I was sent today. I've only seen half of, but this is in fact a Jewish lady who explains the evil of Zion and the Zionists and what their plan is. And it plays a little bit into what's going on in other parts of the world at the moment. But of course, we all know that there is a level of control that has been exhibited from the old dart for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And here's an example of that too. Consider for a moment that Nathaniel Rothschild sat in the English House of Lords for a lifetime position, and he only spoke to the chamber on 2 occasions. The first of these was to ask the Parliament to assist in setting up of a 100,000 plus Jewish settlers into the then British-owned Palestine. For those who aren't playing and haven't been keeping up, Israel, the land of Israel, was gifted by the British through Rothschild, if you like, the Balfour Agreement. Now, the Rothschilds were, after all, the leader of the Zionist movement in the early 20th century. In another speech, Lord Rothschild gave milk pasteurization a bit of a bashing. Why on earth would he want to, be worried about that? Well, milk pasteurization kills the good bacteria that comes in milk. And for centuries, people have been living quite happily. And I know as a young lad, I grew up not on a dairy farm, but every Christmas, every holidays I spent on a dairy farm. And I drank, if not direct from the cow's teat, then straight out of the vat with a huge jug of milk that I'd take over to my grandmother every morning and we would have fresh. It was the most beautiful milk. Absolutely stunning, stunning milk. But then I do remember pasteurization and homologation and all that other shit that came through. And it tasted different, tasted thinner to begin with. That's one of my overarching memories. We also used to get it in school. Remember, every little lunch or play lunch or whatever, first recess, whatever it was called. And if you're anything like me, growing up in the Wimmera, you'd come out to a lukewarm bottle of milk that may have been sitting in the sun for an hour and a half, 2 hours in 38-degree heat. Sometimes they just weren't real fans. And back then, we didn't have too many Iraqis who really liked to make yogurt that way. So it didn't work out, unfortunately. But we move on. Elon Musk has been called out, which I think is pretty interesting. He's been called out as the richest man in the world. And, with $6 billion, if Elon Musk gave us $6 billion, we would be able to fix world hunger. That's what the World Food Program said under the United Nations. $6 billion from Elon Musk, and that could end world hunger. So Musk tweeted back straight away, okay, I've got the $6 billion. Do you mind if we use an open source accounting system so the world can track how the money is spent transparently to end hunger, if that is actually true? He hasn't heard back from them. Surely you would hope that starts to wake a few people up. Why wouldn't he? He's got the money to do it. He could put $6 billion into it tomorrow. They called him out doing it. He said, righto, here's the money, but I want it put on an open source, transparent system so we can see how you're using it. And they don't want to do that. Oh, no, that's just too bad. Well, I guess you could always go to Zimbabwe. Many of you, I know, like me, hold a Zim note. You might hold one for $1 million. You might hold one for $10 million. You might hold a 100 million Zim note, or you might even hold a 1 trillion Zim note. Well, we all had big hopes, and there were certain organizations saying that if you had those notes, you weren't going to, when the big financial reset happens, you weren't going to be given, trillions upon trillions of dollars, but you would gain access to a large pool of money for humanitarian projects, which you could build in your name. This has been something that many people cottoned on to, and many people bought Zim notes and thought, well, it only cost whatever it was, $10, $20 to buy a Zim note, and a $1 trillion Zim note. If it all comes good, great. If not, you've got an interesting wall hanging. Well, you've got an interesting wall hanging. Just before Christmas, the Zimbabwean government have introduced a new note. It is backed by gold. It is called the ZIG, and that is a $10 ZIG note. Now, along with waving around the ZIG note, the Zimbabwean governor said that they're going to introduce this new gold-backed currency, and it stands for Zimbabwe Gold. It's the latest attempt to stabilize an economy which has lurched from crisis to crisis for 25 years. Unveiling the new notes, the central bank governor said that the ZIG would be structured and set at a market-determined exchange rate. The ZIG replaces the Zimbabwean dollar, the RTGS, which has lost 3/4 of its value so far this year. Annual inflation in March reached 55%. That's a 7-month high. And the Zimbabweans have 21 days to exchange old inflation-hit notes for the new currency. However, the US dollar, which accounts for 85% of transactions, will remain as the legal tender, and most people are likely to continue to prefer this right up until the US dollar is no more. And those two lines are coming together faster than many Zimbabweans may like to understand. When the US dollar crashes, the best thing that Zimbabwe have done has backed it against gold, or have backed their new ZIG with gold. But what does it mean? Synchronicity show, righto, still waiting for your 2008 $100 trillion note to make you rich. Yes. I think I've got a $100 trillion note too. So we're all waiting for that. But I don't know. I wouldn't hold my breath unless you can get it in the next couple of days to Zimbabwe and get some exchange on it. You'll probably get $1.50. What are our thoughts on unallocated silver? Is there a chance Ainslie would cash out those holding unallocated? Absolutely not. I wouldn't think so. Not in a pink fit. I can't speak for Ainslie. But no, I cannot believe that Ainslie would, as you say, cash out the unallocated stocks. No, as far as I'm aware, if you have bought unallocated stock, then they hold that unallocated stock. It's just what it means by unallocated is you don't get to pick the bars that you want. Some people are very fussy. Some people only want really shiny bars. Some people only want stacker bars. Some people don't care. So unallocated is the people who don't care what sort of silver you get, whether it looks old and isn't shiny, it's all dull and it's been bashed around and, hidden in boxes for the last 100 years. They're the good ones to get, by the way. Don't clean them up, because you might find a collector who'll pay you a lot of money for something like that. Ask Pete from Pinaroo. He's the man to talk to about collectibles and things like that. So, no, I don't believe, and I think it would be totally against the law for Ainslie to borrow from the unallocated stock that is, in effect, owned by people already. I don't think Ainslie would be picking up the phone and calling you and saying, hey, listen, we're going to buy that back off you for this price. I don't see them ever doing that. If you want to sell it, you ring them. Yes, unallocated gold or silver is sold. So if you have unallocated, it's in their vault. And all it means is when you go into Ainslie and you say, I want to get my 1, 2, 10 or 20 or 100 kilos, they go into a vault that has 100 kilos of silver in it in various different makes of bars, and they just pick out 10 of them and bring them to you, or pick out 100 of them, I guess. The other way around, if you choose to vault your own silver, then you get to choose the kind of silver you want to put in your vault, and that is your vault. They can't open that. Only you can open that. So if you choose to have all shiny bars, then they will be in your vault quite happily. But unallocated means that you don't get to choose your bar. You get whatever they grab when they reach into the unallocated vault and pull out whatever size you're looking for. So that's all that means. The best metal is the metal in hand. You're 100% right, Black Sheep. Do not. And in fact, now that we're talking about it, you reminded me, because I've been promising I was going to play this for some time. There is a lot of silver being sold on things like eBay and Gumtree and that sort of place. I would advise you to be very, very, very careful about what you buy and who you buy it from. Now, there is a way to tell whether or not you are buying silver, and Black Sheep has provided a demonstration video so that you can see it. Now, have a look at this. See that? On a silver coin. Slides off. That makes it a completely fake coin. Look what happened. It slides just that little bit slower. I'll play that again for you. Can tell the difference. You can also tell the difference if you have a piece of silver, a silver coin, and you rub it against the other one or slide it down a bar. There'll be practically no friction. It'll be like it's on oil, and that's another good way of being able to tell. Also, the ting test. It's very hard to match the ting of silver, but it can be done. And of course, if you do have any kind of significant concerns with that sort of stuff, you should get it tested before you buy it. And that just simply means you take a piece of it off to somewhere like Cash Converters or a jeweler who will test it for you. Must use a strong magnet, says Black Sheep. Okay. I will do that test for you myself. I've got a couple of strong magnets somewhere, and I might even be able to find a couple of silver coins. So we'll see how that goes. There was something else I wanted to show you. New Year has been brought in all across the world in a variety of different ways. In far north Queensland, they tend to do it in their own unique kind of way. And this year has been absolutely no different. Happy New
Year, everybody. Yep, 680 mil in the last 4 days. Just finished smoking some cachos for the, there's still a bit of smoke there. So, what did I have? 5,185 mil of rain for the entire year. 680 in the last day of the year, last 4 days. So, there you go. And it looks like January's going to start off wet.
Skipper Pete, that's up at Ingham. And you can see the boat there. Renowned fish are scared of that boat. Trust me, they see that hull, they go a mile. He hates it. Doesn't catch anything. No, that's not true. He's a bloody good fisherman. And he's not too bad at making his own sausages and smoking them either. How's that for a smoker, eh? Love it. I think it's 4 or 5, I don't know if they're 9s or 18s joined together, but spectacular, right there on the cane fields. And the biggest trouble he's got at the moment is making sure the crocs don't get too close. So there is a creek a little bit just up from him, and that gets flooded very, very easily. And the crocs do tend to migrate a little bit, and I think in Ingham last year, after one of the cyclones that came through, they had one in the main street, which was a bit whiz. So, yeah, it is a super smoker, absolute ripper. And I forgot to put his Christmas tree up. I did last year, But he has a very large, I don't know if it's a pine tree in the yard. And every year he gets the local boys who have one of those large cherry pickers to come out, and they string this thing up and put a star on top of it. You can see it for miles. So I'm sorry to skip a beat. I forgot to put the bloody thing up this year. But anyway, we've got to look at how wet it is. And, yeah, that was the last 4 days leading up to New Year's. I haven't heard from him so far in the last couple of days. But I believe it has rained up in far north Queensland pretty solidly for quite some time. So I guess they'll be just, well, you got to be expecting it, really, don't you, in far north Queensland, this time of the year particularly. Before I go tonight, something that I've been trying to get to and always keep forgetting to do. There has been some big news come out about the UK police force. The Metropolitan Police Force has called, they've changed the rules about secret societies in their groups. And if you are a Freemason, you must declare that you are a Freemason. Now, the Metropolitan Police have released this. We will robustly defend our decision to require officers and staff to declare if they are Freemasons. Our response to the decision by the Grand Lodge of England to seek an injunction blocking the implementation of the policy is below. And here is what they had to say. 2/3 of the officers and staff surveyed agreed that this policy is needed. We think the majority of the public would also agree. There have been calls going back a number of years for the role of Freemasonry in policing to be properly addressed, including as a recommendation in the report of the Daniel Morgan independent panel. We strongly believe that failing to act on these calls would further damage trust not only among the public, but also other officers and staff. Victims should be able to know that when they report allegations to us, the officers investigating have been transparent about any potential conflicts of interest. Similarly, officers and staff should be able to know that when they report wrongdoing by colleagues, it will be investigated on its merits with no opportunity for secret loyalties to play any part. We must not prioritise the maintenance of vital trust and confidence over any organisation's desire to maintain secrecy. Freemasonry, folks, is under attack, openly under attack. And now when the Grand Poobah Lodge of England tries to take out an injunction against the Metropolitan Police for a policy decision to make their officers declare their membership in this secret society, they're squealing like the pigs they are. It's going to get interesting, and we need that here. Yes, Alex Antic did ask for the same here in the Australian Parliament. I think he was laughed out, probably because the Australian Parliament is full of Freemasons, and I don't think that they would allow that to happen. But with movement like that happening in the UK, with Malcolm Roberts, I don't know, I'm still out on Pauline. I'm really hopeful, but I think Pauline is going to be the leader of a group of doers. I don't know that Pauline is going to be the lead doer. Does that make sense? I think we're more focused on leadership. It's an unfair thing to say at this juncture. I shouldn't say that. I need to see how she's going to perform over the next few months. They have made great gains. You'll have noticed that all the headlines are now Pauline and Barnaby. There is no mention of Malcolm Roberts. Malcolm Roberts is feverishly recutting his estimates best of moments from the last year and putting them out on social media channels. And I've got to say, he's one of the best performers we have in the Parliament, particularly in estimates, trying to bring these bureaucrats to account. I fear he and others like him, Antic and the rest, struggle because there is no accountability. It's become very clear that the politicians heading up the departments that these bureaucrats are meant to answer for are protecting them, and the bureaucrats are likewise protecting the government. And they will go to their graves lying about it, even when they're caught. There is no greater form of bastardry. People who get paid out of the public purse, screwing the public for it. It has to end, folks. Let's hope 2026 brings us that much closer to ending it. And let's hope that in the next 24, 48 hours, that your little silver stack becomes a very large silver stack. And that way you'll be able to go and afford yourself one of those cars on the road that really doesn't matter what the other dickheads are driving. If they bump into you, it's going to be their problem. Have yourself a good night. Please head over to our merch site, vofhq.com, and see if you can't help out the Donkey Sanctuary. It's only a $2 ticket. And we've got $750 and an ounce of silver to give away. Speaking of Byron Bob's, I've already said give me goodbye line, so bugger off. Byron Bob's at the moment are over $600 a tube to buy. It would cost us a lot of money to be able to sell them to you, and I don't know that that's something that we're going to be able to do. If you do want them, stick your hand up. We'll give you a price, but it'll be the price on the day that we have to give you. And I think you might find it a little cost, well, you might find it difficult. However, it'll still be the cheapest silver in town, got to tell you. And members, we need you to become members because 2026 holds, Vince has been working today feverishly, learning about laws and lotto laws and all that kind of thing. We have great plans for 2026 where we want to be able to share with you some great prizes, but you will only be able to get tickets for those great prizes if you are a member. And you can do that at vofhq.com, become a member there for as little as $2.50 a week. And you will get a number of tickets in every prize draw that we have going on. We're trying to figure out how we can make this work for people in South Australia because there are local laws in South Australia that mean it's difficult. So we're trying to figure it out because clearly Vince wants to spend $2 a lot more often and win the lotto. Wouldn't that be nice? All right, folks, love you and leave you. Have yourself a fabulous night, and I would hope that tomorrow brings smiles and maybe a nice meal. If you're on holidays, enjoy it. Saturday, I think I'll be doing the washing. So stay calm, stay collected, and please stay away from the dickheads on the road. Love you lots. Happy New Year.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!